I grew up down in the western end of Kentucky at Murray. When I finished the 8th grade, I never had any idea about taking agriculture or being in the FFA. It had never dawned on me or had never occurred to me. But one day in the summer, after school was out in the 8th grade, my high school ag teacher, Charles L. Eldridge, stopped by to my house and talked to me a little bit about that he'd really like to see me take agriculture that fall. And he had a pretty big impact on me, I guess, because I decided I would do that. I had never thought about it before. That fall at the Green Hand initiation, which was held at night, and my dad attended, and after the initiation was over, he walked up to the high school ag teacher, Mr. Eldridge. He didn't know that I was listening or could even hear, and he said, "Do you think that you can do for my son what you've apparently done for a lot of these older boys in this FFA?" And I heard the ag teacher say, "Well, I think I can." And so that was kind of the start of my being in the FFA. And after somewhere in the middle of the second year as a sophomore, I thought, boy, this is a great thing. And I concluded that not only did I want to continue in agriculture in the FFA, I wanted to be an ag teacher just like my high school ag teacher. I wanted to do the kind of things that I saw him doing with students. And I never veered from that thought. When I graduated from high school, I went over to Murray State and majored in ag ed and graduated from there. And a lot of other students were looking at other jobs and so on. I was never interested in anything but being an ag teacher. I think if someone had come along and offered me a job that was paying twice what you would get starting out to be an ag teacher, I would have turned a deaf ear, because the only thing I had in mind is to be an ag teacher. My ag teacher died last summer at 88, and I went back to Murray and was a pallbearer at his funeral. His telephone number there in Murray was 753-2579. And it was the same number that he had when I was a high school student, and still the same number when he died later at 88 last summer. And I still remembered that number all those years. As a high school student, I called him way too much about things, about my pigs or about my corn or about whatever. Although I would tell you folks that he was very skillful in ending the conversation sometimes fairly quickly. He didn't let me talk to him too terribly long. So that tells you a little bit of the admiration and respect that I had for him. Then I taught high school ag at Lowe's, which was a great, great place to teach in Graves County. And after I had taught there 2 years, I had several job offers at the end of the second year. In fact, I think I could tell you in detail of 6 different job offers as I was concluding my second year of teaching. But the one when Dr. Binkley called and offered me a position back at the University of Kentucky in agricultural education, the other 5 didn't amount to very much. One of those other 5, I'll only tell you about one of them, was with Geigy Chemical Company, which later becomes CB Geigy. CB Geigy, I think. And probably if I had taken that job financially, I'd have been much more lucrative and much farther ahead. But I took the right job, which was working with students in ag education and working with the FFA. And so, you know, my own experience in FFA, it helped teach me to speak. It helped build self-esteem. It did all kinds of positive things. I was fortunate enough to win the state seed identification contest, be vice president of the state winning chapter meeting team. I was a state winner in corn production and also in hog production. Even though I lived on a very small farm, it didn't have a whole lot to work with. But I guess it was just my place in the sun. And then my work at the University of Kentucky in ag education has been absolutely wonderful. For 39 years, I was in the ag education program and got to work with students who were going to be ag teachers, students who were ag teachers, former students who are ag teachers. And I don't know how you could have a better job that still lasts, even though I've been retired 10 years. One of my former students I had dinner with he and his girlfriend last night, and they spent the night at my house last night. And that continues. Some days I get 2 or 3 calls from former students. Some weeks maybe not any at all. But it's just kind of a wonderful sort of thing. And I think the ag education program has truly developed a family atmosphere. It's my daughter who attended I have a grandson that's president of the Locust Trace chapter this year, and my daughter attended the National FFA convention last fall for the first time, and she said, more and more that I'm around the FFA, she said, the more I realize it's almost like a cult. She said it's just got its own way of operating and its own support network, and I really truly think that it does. It's just a wonderful sort of thing. And my life has been, since 1955, has been involved, I guess that's about 59 years, has been involved with ag education and with the FFA. And I think that we all that work with that, we would say that the FFA is probably the premier, without question, student organization in the United States. There's nothing else that even begins to equal it. And I feel I use an expression, sometimes I say if you were spiritually oriented, you would probably say that you've been really blessed. And if you might be a little bit of secular, which is okay, you might say that we've really been a lucky group of people. And if you might be a mixture of the two, spiritual and secular, you might say that you've really been fortunate in life. Well, for my own self, to have had starting in 1955, entering in the agriculture class at the Murray Training School, which was the lab school of Murray State University, I would tell you that that decision has enabled me for all these years to be blessed, lucky, and fortunate, all three.